This is You're So Right, the podcast that deals with Davidson County, the state of Tennessee, and issues that affect us right here at home. And I'm here with my good friend Raul Lopez, who's the executive director of Men of Valor, and you also work with the political group, the Latinos for Tennessee, correct?
Yes, yes. Well, first of all, Lonnie, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. You're like a pillar in our community in Middle Tennessee.
Well, that's so nice of you to say.
So it's an honor to be with you. Yes.
Well, thank you. So you and I guess, I don't know, we probably met a half a dozen years or so ago, and you were working with Latinos for Tennessee at the time, and you had spent a little time on the executive committee for the Davidson County Republican Party, if I remember correctly. Tell us a little bit about Latinos for Tennessee, and what are you guys doing in Nashville, and kind of how's the organization work?
Well, Latinos for Tennessee was kind of birthed out of the Obama when he was elected. Mm-hmm. I was involved with the George W. Bush campaign, Hispanic outreach, back in the day in 2004. But then Latinos for Tennessee kind of kicked off for being the only conservative voice in the state. And we thought Obama, went to Conexión America, the Hispanic Chamber, both Nashville and the statewide, and kind of establish a liberal presence. And so we wanted to establish a conservative presence. And it was very effective, but once Trump got elected, it really kicked off. Yeah. So that's how Latinos for Tennessee established. And we had a different strategy. We had all the liberals did immigration and all that stuff. We instead started reaching out to churches on faith issues, on, just faith issues. And then with the BLM movement, the transgender stuff, all these churches started moving towards us, and that's how we grew to where we're at today.
Yeah, there really wasn't a voice for really the minority community in Nashville or in Tennessee as a whole. The Republican Party through that time of the 90s kind of had a hard time connecting with Latinos and the black community. Now, Donald Trump has really flipped the script on all of that, right, and he's really improved the Republican outreach in those minority communities, just really across the board. It's really that's why he's president of the United States today.
Right. It's either, what I've noticed, I've been involved in this now over 20 years, it's crazy. It's either a lot of people look towards the next election as opposed to future.
Right.
And I would say Trump is more future, where most legislators are, I just want to get reelected.
Right.
So in my community, the Latino community is like, do we really want to reach out to them? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily, because it's not going to sway the election this year. Now, 20 years from now, it will. So we need to start thinking futuristic, which most entrepreneurs, business people do.
Right.
Politicians just look the next election. And that's why Trump looks future, because he's an entrepreneur business person.
Right. He's trying. He's doing his best right now to get the government to work like that.
Right.
The government's doing its best to resist his efforts. Now, if I remember correctly, your family came over from Cuba in the late 60s. Is that correct?
Yes.
Escaped. I guess Castro had come to power, and he was instituting communism in the country of Cuba. And I guess your family, your father, got you guys out of there, and you guys were able to come to the United States then. Is that right?
Yes, it was mid-60s, 65, 66. We came, and kind of a weird system, but we came in, and legally, by the way. And, we came in, and the Miami community kind of embraced us and helped us through the process. But yes, communism is a bad thing. And that's what, I see it happening again about 2 or 3 years ago through the BLM movement, through the COVID movement, the woke movement. All that is like what my grandmother every year used to get us together and kind of go over, because we were young. It's like, do not forget what we left and risked our lives for, which is, government control. They take your arms, they take the press, they take your family, and that's the first thing they do. They start having their children come against the parents, and that's what this whole woke movement is, transgender movement, BLM movement is split up the families.
Yeah.
And once you split up the families, then who's your family? Government.
The government.
So it's just a different playbook. Oh no, different names, but the same playbook.
It's been one of those things that Americans, especially the kids who are kind of going through high school now and in college, that's all they've known. That's what's been driven through the school system. That's what they're being taught in the universities. I mean, they can't read or write, but they know the principles of Stalin, and they know what communism is. I mean, they don't know the difference between a fascist and a communist, but they just know those principles.
Right. And it comes through the college system, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think what's comforting, it's still a challenge, is that we're finally challenging that. And I was comforted, with Trump's appearance at University of Alabama, where he was saying,
Kids think Trump's cool.
yeah.
But
Just the whole concept that we're changing the concept of wokeism in the college, and we're challenging them, saying, we're not going to give you money anymore. I also run a Christian organization, Men of Valor, it's a prison ministry, and we get challenges all the time from government saying, well, we'll give you money, but if you do this, this, and this about Christ, we can't. We should do the same thing. We'll give you funding, but if you're going to support anti-Israel, hate speech, and all that, you don't get that money either.
Right.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
And I think that's what we're seeing through the Trump administration right now.
So I don't know if we're here in Middle Tennessee. Nashville's a different world.
It's like the inverse of the state.
Yeah.
The state is 60-40 Republican. Nashville and Memphis, I know Nashville for sure is more of a 65-35 county right now. We've had such an influx of people moving here from California and Chicago and New York, but they're not coming here to escape. They're really just bringing their values with them. So we've seen the demographics in Nashville shift 5 points towards the Democrats over the last 6 to 8 years.
Well, I'll tell you what's really sad about this is Men of Valor. We have a campus that houses 90 men at a time, affordable housing. All they pay is $600 a month for transportation, housing, cable, bill, everything, programming. To this day, we've been there, 10 years. Not one mayor has set foot in our campus.
Isn't that amazing?
And I've asked them all. Though, Freddie's big thing is affordable housing, right?
And they've got all these pods and all these, mini
I say,
houses.
come to our facility. Yeah. See affordable housing.
That's a sham what he's talking about.
And before him, and before the other Clemens, before her, all of them, they won't come because it's political. They're not concerned about affordable housing. If they were, they'd come visit our site.
Right.
And it's really, it's all about politics. And so
that's another thing that you and I have in common is, as you were getting Men of Valor going, I was the first treasurer for a group called the Tennessee Higher Education Initiative. So I was one of their first board members, and they ran an accredited college program in the state prison system. They still do. And they run it through the TBR, the Tennessee Board of Regents, so Nashville State and Fall State and other community colleges like that send instructors to the prison, and they run an accredited course through the prison system. Now, I'm not affiliated with the group anymore, but I really got to see what it was like, touring Ewing Baths and some of those other prisons, and just what that kind of education does for the young man's future in this case, and how it lowers the recidivism rate for men who have made bad choices in their youth and they find out incarcerated. Now, Men of Valor is a little different than that. Tell us a little bit about Men of Valor, and because your system really under Governor Lee has just exploded. With success, I should say.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been around over 25 years, and we started off. Our founder had a burglary charge and went to prison, got out. He actually stayed at that prison that we all see in the movies. What is it, the Green Mile?
Yeah, that's right there on
Yeah,
Cockrell
he
Bend.
was actually there.
Wow.
And in the hole for a couple times, got saved anyway, and left by a miracle, and started visiting one man at a time, one guy. And then they transferred him, and he showed up, and the other guys started saying, "Hey, I've seen you come here all the time. Can you visit me?" And he said, "Sure." So he started visiting them, and then anyway, it became a ministry of mentoring. And he passed away in 2014. I became the director.
What was his name?
Carl Carlson.
Carl Carlson.
Carl Carlson established it. Back then, our ministry was purely a prison ministry with a little reentry. What we've converted to is not only we're in every prison in the state of Tennessee, but now we also do reentry services, which means we provide IDs, job readiness programs, education, mentorship programs when they come out. Because, the scripture says the cares of the world, the seeds are planted, but the cares of the world strangle the seed. So a lot of guys in prison want to do it, but when they come out, they can't get an apartment.
Right.
They can't, their driver's license is messed up, so they can't drive.
Yeah.
So they drive illegally and get,
Yeah, that's how they wind
and
right
then
back
they
in.
go back to, they owe back taxes, they owe back, anyway.
Usually it's like those parking fines, right? Because once you get that fine, you don't pay it because you're incarcerated.
Right.
But the fees and the penalties just keep building and building and building. And, a couple years later, say 2 years later, you get out, you've got thousands of dollars in traffic fines that you just got out of jail, you can't pay, and you don't have a lot of options.
Correct. And if you got a felony record, you can't even get an apartment. So you got to either live in a basement with your mom or come to a program like ours. It's a year-long program, and we provide mentorship, Bible study, enhancements, how to be a better father, how to be a better husband. We do family reconciliation. There's just a lot involved because a lot of these guys have been through a lot of trauma and thus created trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So Men of Valor, I'm a conservative. So Men of Valor, we believe in the rule of law.
Right.
If you do the crime, you need to do the time.
But
we also believe
a death sentence.
But exactly, it's not the scarlet letter anymore.
Right.
Just because you have a felony doesn't mean God can't change you.
Right.
Along with God's people, work together, people can change, and then families can be restored. And it's and then fiscally, because I'm conservative, we save the state so much money. It's recidivism in the state, depending on which city, is 50 to 75%. Our program is less than 10%. And recidivism means going back to prison.
That's right. So you've gone in, you've either been released or you're on parole, and the recidivism is if you stay out of jail for really forever, then you're not a repeat offender, and that is where your members are. At least today, your recidivism rate for those who have gone through your program is less than 10%. So only 1 in 10 or less of the guys who graduate through your system find themselves back in jail. So that's a great number, and it's so expensive for the state and the cities to keep people jailed. So it's just a great service that you and your ministry are doing for the people of the state, not just the state of Tennessee anymore, as I understand.
No, we're expanding to Florida, and the great thing about it is not just because people always talk to me about recidivism, right, and how much we say the state, but what about that mom?
Yeah.
What about that child?
There's a person.
You know,
behind all of
the number one indicator of someone going to prison is their dad went to prison.
that. Right.
So if we can turn that cycle around, he went to prison, but if he comes back, he's a good father again, and it's giving taxes and showing his son and his wife and all that. It just changes all kinds of things. So it's not. It's Ronald Reagan, triple down effect. I mean, it's there's just more to it than just the number of, which is huge.
Right.
But there's so much more to it. It's generational change. But yes, we're going to Florida now. And I'll tell you, Florida's got it good, and I want to bring it to Tennessee. They've got faith and character pods in their prisons. So it's different faith and character, different faiths involved in it. But they, majority, 90% of them are Christians, but they work together and discuss, have Bible studies and all that, resume, all that things. And Florida's, right now, it looks like we're going to get 3 or 4 prisons that we're actually going to run.
Are they just state prisons, and the Men of Valor will run the whole
state
system?
prisons and Core Civic, which is a private prisons. So we're going to run it. It's going to be faith and character, but our programming is going to be Christian. And we're going to be working with the state on who can come in the pod each, which is really great. It's a great, and I want to bring this to Tennessee. So we're going to.
So if someone's incarcerated, I know you have like some things that maybe weed people out, but what are the requirements if someone's incarcerated or they have a loved one that's in jail? How do you get enrolled into the Men of Valor program once you find yourself there?
Okay. Well, first of all, there's jail and there's prison.
Right.
Okay. And again, we're one of the unique ministries that does both jail and ministry because it's a totally different thing. They just have to go. We have D groups and D groups as discipleship groups in just about we're in every prison and 12 jails throughout the state, all Middle Tennessee. It's like 4 or 5 Middle Tennessee, where we can have programming. You get mentorship. You have discipleship group, and then once you're in that, then you can apply for a reentry service. You could do either or and or.
So if someone's in, and let's just say they really don't have the possibility of getting out, they're a lifer.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability for parole. They're in there for life. Can they get involved
Yes.
with the Men of Valor system?
Yes. We have a prison ministry. We even have a death row ministry where we work with the guys in death row. So we work with every aspect of it. We even have people with sex offenders, not on the outside, but on the inside. We work with them too. And there's sex offenders and there's sex offenders.
Right.
So that's a different topic. But anyway, God can change anybody. But on the outside, we don't work with sex offenders because of just logistics.
Well,
but we work with people in life and all that, and we work with whatever it might be. And we're the only statewide Spanish-speaking ministry, too. Everything we do in Spanish. And even guys, I am very, because Latinos for Tennessee,
Right.
anti-illegal immigration.
Right.
But you know what I want to do? Those guys that are people that are arrested, when they're in ICE, we want to preach to them the gospel. So when they go back home, hopefully they're changed, and hopefully they'll change their community. They might never step foot in America again, but
So I'm assuming you work with Sheriff Hall
Yes.
here in Nashville. He was on this program a month or so ago, and it was a great episode. And his story and what he's done with the jails here in Nashville is just it really should be a model for other cities and states for what he's done with mental health here. But when I talked with him, he had said at any given time in the Nashville system, there are like 350 illegals in the system at any time. I know that you guys probably don't discriminate in the jails. If somebody wants to join the ministry, you'll let them in because that's the purpose of your ministry, right?
yes, in the prisons
Prison. So
or
what's
the jail
difference
or the
between-
jails.
So a lot of people might not know. What's the difference between a prison and a
Okay,
jail?
the prisons and the jails. Prisons, you've already been convicted of
Right.
a felony. A jail, you either got less than a felony, maybe like a DUI, 360, anything a year or less, like a misdemeanor, you're in a jail. So if you got DUI, let's say 364 days, you're in the jail for 364 days. Or you're waiting for trial.
You didn't get bail. You're in.
So
You've been arrested, so you're in the jail waiting for trial. That
Waiting
may take
for
a
trial.
year, it may take 3 years, but you're going to be in the
exactly.
jail.
So jail system is very hectic. You got all kinds of different people coming in and out. Prison's more stabilized. I know that sounds weird, but but then you got the gang stuff and all that.
Right.
But it's you. So it's
How do you deal with that when you're in the prison system with the different gangs and factions and stuff?
well. This is why I like what Florida's doing. If we can, during the storm about 3 or 4 years ago in Florida, there was a lot of flooding and all that. I forgot which hurricane it was, but they had to evacuate all the prisons. And the only pods, a section of a prison full of men that didn't have contrabands, like drugs, knives, or whatever, was the faith-based pods. Because it's so incentive. If you mess up once, you leave. They got bigger, like an inch bigger mattress. I know that sounds weird, but in the prison system, you get 1 inch bigger
A little more
mattress. It's
comfort.
huge. They got TVs. They got all kinds of stuff. But they've got GED classes. They got all this stuff, but it's zero tolerance. You can't have any violence and all that. And because of that, there was no violence. There was nothing. So Bush started that. Bush, the governor of Florida. But when DeSantis saw that, he says, we're going to expand this because it's safe, right? So expanded to all the prisons, and now there's a waiting list. So because of that, the people who are waiting are acting good because if they mess up,
Because they're
they
out.
can go. And a lot of them, unfortunately, want to go in there not because it's a faith pod, because it's a safe pod.
Yeah.
They're not going to be knifed by a gang member and all that.
Right.
But once they're in there, guess what? The power of the Holy Spirit changes their lives. And then after 2 or 3 years, they send them out to different prisons by 2 or 3s. That's what we need here in Tennessee. We need faith and character.
Now, I know that you work with the legislature a lot on lobbying them for those types of changes, right? Because those changes have to really come from the legislature. Is that correct?
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about the lobbying, what you've got going on. Did you have anything this legislative session? What are you looking for the next, other than this one change? What other things are you looking that the legislature might change to the system?
No, I think this is the biggest one. I mean, the legislature's obviously decided to go towards whatever your sentence is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't earn your way to get out.
So the good behavior doesn't reduce your sentence. If you were sentenced to 2 years, you're serving your 2 years.
And there's a good thing to that, and there's a bad thing to that.
Right.
There's no incentive to be better, but then in our programs, there's more incentive. Okay, you're in it for the right reason.
Right.
So there's pros and cons to it. I'm always an incentive guy, but that's okay. That's what the legislature's
Carrot or
done.
stick.
So we'll work with the legislature. So we're going to do whatever we can with the legislature to provide programming while they're inside, instead of just sitting there idle, getting involved with gangs or other stuff.
Are there things that we can do to make their transition back to society easier? Like, are there things that we can do to, like, get rid of some of those traffic violations, or have part of their thing that those traffic violations are gone once they've been incarcerated and done their time, like they've wiped it out, so they're not having to fight that battle, that additional battle after they paid their debt?
That's the struggle or the challenge of working for a nonprofit and also being conservative,
Right.
because you don't want to reward misbehavior,
No, but
but you want to help those to come back to society.
Right. But we've already said, like,
So
this
he-
is your penalty.
So here's what I suggest. You don't reward individuals. You reward individuals that are involved in a program to better themselves. In other words, when I'm driving down the street, I don't give money to someone with a cardboard thing when I know they could go to the United Rescue Mission
Right.
and be in a program, right? There's plenty of programs.
Plenty of work, too. If they
But those
wanted it.
programs provide work.
Right.
So that person might have a mental health issue, but I'm not going to give you for sitting on a street with a cardboard thing. I'd rather give to the rescue mission who's dealing with your mental health issues, knowing you're on medication, all this stuff, than giving you $20 or $5 or $1,
Right.
which you're just going to either take medication or just eat. Anyway, so that's my philosophy. We gotta somehow tie government, corporations, and nonprofits together to work together. If you can get those three to work together in a community, it's the best way, because nonprofits know their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Government doesn't.
Yeah.
But government can have the funding, but they don't know the clients.
Yeah. People who get out, they need to be able to get to work.
Right.
They need to be able to pick their kids up. You know, they need to be able to do that in a legal manner, right? So it's not that one simple little thing that kicks them back for violating parole or whatever. So that was just my thought. Like, you know, we've sentenced them for their crimes. That's part of their crime. You know, they paid their debt if they're out, you know. I don't know.
No, I agree. But so here you got the challenge. So a person that gets out can't get an apartment.
Right.
So he can't develop credit, so he can't buy a house. So what's he going to do? Live with mom in the attic? You know,
Yeah.
there's got to be, anyway, affordable housing, like everything else in Nashville, is part of the challenge. But again, I think if you work through a nonprofit as opposed to an individual, because an individual could take advantage of a person,
Yeah.
but a nonprofit knows the person.
Well, it's a start. I mean, at least if something like that were to happen, where people who went through the Men of Valor system, who are in your work release or worked with Tennessee Higher Education Initiative, and they're back in the college system now. Those are both nonprofits. If there were a way to help them more easily get over that hurdle to where just the fees and fines from just the traffic stop that put them in jail, maybe got them arrested for the other charges, but you know, it's a complicated.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great organizations out there. There's Dismas House, there's
Mhm.
TPOC, there's uh, even Project Return does case management, not housing. Well, they do some housing. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. I mean, not just Men of Valor. You know, I would just say I mean, to me, if I was the mayor, you're really concerned about affordable housing, bring us all together, talk to him,
Mhm.
and give us the Barnes Foundation. They've all gotten funding except Men of Valor. I wonder why. But anyway, um, if we can get together, we can work together. And again, it's not like handouts.
Right.
Let's establish a system where they have shown success to achieve that funding, which then would help their family and generations to come.
Um, Now, I think I'm right on this. You've been working with the Trump administration some, is that correct?
Yes.
On some of these issues. Did you work with the transition team at all?
I worked with this former transition on the Second Chance Act. That was
Okay.
very good with Alice Johnson on probation and yes, and now we're working somewhat now. It's very preliminary, but yes, in this previous and right now we're talking about going forward. Yes.
What's it like working like that with the president, knowing that the things that you are suggesting have the chance of making just a huge change across the country?
Well, obviously it's an honor, but the great thing about the president, again, he's a businessman.
Right.
So he understands. Okay, so if we want something to succeed, how do we make that happen? It's working with people on both sides of the aisle. Again, when we're talking about crime,
Right.
I can go a different route when working with him on Hispanics, but on crime, it's like, okay, how do we be tough on crime for those who deserve it, but yet have a way afterwards for success? And he's got that. He's just got that. And then how do we use businesses to give them jobs? How do we create zones that people will invest in the community where those people will return to the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, liberals are really into illegal immigration. Why? Because a lot of the illegal immigrants don't live in their community. You know? Yeah, it's great. I don't have that crime in my community.
We saw that too when the governor of Texas started, and Governor DeSantis started sending people who they caught who were illegal to those other districts, sent them to New York, to Massachusetts, to Virginia, and they were like, we can't do this, we can't handle this,
Right.
and that was just a fraction of what they were getting in Texas.
So what our president understands is how do we equip them to come out successfully so they don't return that. Now, the federal system is totally different than the state system, totally different. So, as well as the jail. So that's another. We're not, Men of Valor is not involved in the federal systems right now, but we're working to get involved in that.
So once you get established in Florida, are there any other states that you're working on expanding to?
Yes, we got a presence now in Houston.
Okay.
And then, like I said, we're going to start working with ICE to get the word out worldwide. Bless them. You need to go back home.
Bless them.
And gang members. I'm a former gang member, so
I don't think I knew that.
yes, former gang member. So the lifestyle stinks. You probably grew up without a father like I did, and wanted a family for men. But now, hopefully, you receive the Lord and change.
My dad grew up in Brooklyn, and this was probably the late 50s. He was a Jewish guy in the Hispanic area of Brooklyn, and so he had to be a pretty tough guy, and he ended up joining a gang when he was in New York, and he had gotten arrested doing something stupid that kids do. And at the time, the judge was like, well, I'll give you a choice. You can join the army or you can go to jail. And at the time, my dad was like, well, where do I sign? And that's how he wound up down here. But I don't know if that's something that they even offer these days is a different path other than jail.
It's funny you say that, because if I get involved again, that's one thing I'm going to push. If anything, at least if you've been convicted, go through a program. Again, a program is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a year program, and then you're eligible to go. I'm saying after conviction.
Right.
Prior, I'm for that 100%. That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
Get your life together.
I mean, sometimes, like a lot of these people, as you know, they don't have fathers. There's never been that
they need discipline. Yeah.
There's never been that structure that was like, you can't do this, you don't do that. And they're what in the right and wrong. And so, I mean, we see that a lot still today. But having the structure that the military provides may turn some of those people around before they go in.
I agree. And it's a lot better to get some guy like that than a woke or transgender person.
I mean, Secretary Hegseth, I think, is going to end up doing a tremendous job.
Yeah.
With all the crap that he took and is still taking. He's taken all the incoming fire. He's been a great spokesman for President Trump, and I think the turnaround that they're going to get there is going to be incredible.
Yeah, that whole crap. One thing I'm very blessed and proud is during all of COVID and DEI and all that crap, Men of Valor did not, even though we got government funding, did not do that. We did not do that. We are all about Christ and not DEI and that woke. I had to step down a couple boards because of DEI. It's sad and I'm saying, I grew up in this, in communism. I heard the stories. This is just, and I think our country has shifted though. I think we've turned.
I hope so. At least for the next 3.5 years, we've hit that corner. But you're starting to see companies now really divest out of all of the DEI stuff, because not only is it expensive, but it makes you inefficient as a company.
I know.
This is the craziest thing. Why would you spend so much money on that? But anyway, is there anything big, anything else that you're working on? I know that you were a businessman in Nashville,
Well, I mean,
and that's kind of how you kind of were able to be in a position to do what you're doing now. But is there anything new or anything that you're working on now?
I mean, Men of Valor, we're working on a new workforce development and ministry center. It's $14 million. And we're going to be teaching.
You guys got a lot of land, didn't you?
Yeah, 26 acres.
Yeah.
It was a miracle. It was like, I don't know, what did we pay? I'm bad with numbers, but we paid like about a couple $100,000 for it.
300,000.
Yeah, 300,000. And
it's funny, I know more than you do.
I know. It's like, it's just gone through much. And anyway, we had a lawsuit and all kinds of stuff. We sold like 4 acres for $450,000. We got $900,000 back from the lawsuit on a lien. And I mean, I was thinking about doing a new real estate show. How can you buy real estate and make that profit? For $9.95 a month, you could send it. Yeah. So, okay. So we got, again, we're right now we have 90 men at a time there. In Knoxville, we have 30. We're about to build a new facility in Chattanooga, which is going to house 30 more men at a time. And in our facility, we're going to have courses on, and we're going to work with TCAT and Nashville State and virtual stuff that we're going to be able to teach HVAC, welding, computer, felon-friendly career jobs.
Vocation.
Right, not just a job, but career jobs. Right. So we're going to be teaching that. And that's what we're excited about. We're also going to be building more affordable housing next step once they graduate. Because after they graduate with us, they still are challenged on finding a home.
Right.
We're dealing with that. And then with the Chattanooga thing, that's going to be a thing. And then, 5 or 6 spots in Florida. So
I know you're like affordable housing. Is it like a lease to own kind of thing? Like where you're kind of putting the backing behind it?
right now, what we're thinking about is leasing to develop credit.
Gotcha.
And then with developed credit, once they develop credit, we work with our partners for affordable housing, first-time buyers, and all that. But they got to develop that credit. So that's what we're thinking about. But we have to invest in that property to develop that credit.
Now,
because a lot of apartments won't give them that opportunity. If they do, it's in an extremely bad neighborhood.
Right.
And
I mean, who can even afford to buy a house in Nashville right now? So to be a minister, you're completely volunteer, right? Everyone who's like working in the prison system.
No. We have 60 employees. We have 60 employees. About a third of them, or almost half, are graduates.
Okay.
So yes. So no. But we have about 500 volunteers because the need is so huge. We deal with thousands of people in the prisons.
Right.
And so we got almost 60.
How do people get in touch to volunteer?
Just look up Men of Valor and
menofvalor.org.
Yeah, and just you could either volunteer, give money, or just take a tour.
What's the biggest need for Men of Valor?
Volunteers. Of course, money.
There's always you can always use money
but
as
volunteers. We need people to love on people either inside the prison or outside.
Right.
Or churches. We have graduations going on every month because there's like 4 different categories: freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, and we have graduations
each level.
Right, and churches adopt it and bring food, and we just have a big celebration. And a lot of times,
and do those happen in the jail? Once they're
which is in Antioch.
Gotcha.
And you see family reconciliation. I mean, it's miracles. A lot of these guys never graduated anything. So they come there, and then the moms, for the first time, bring their little daughters or sons. Daddy graduated, and it's a big deal. It's huge.
I'm sure. It may be the first time these guys even feel proud of themselves.
Yes,
like they've accomplished something that is worthwhile.
And we've been developing trust with their families for months. A lot of times, the first time the mom says, it's okay, because a lot of these moms have been burned. We have a family ministry too, because a lot of these moms have been burned and they've got trust issues.
Right.
They've said before, I'm good, but they haven't been. So we work with the mamas. That's how Jelly Roll, he went through our program.
Yeah.
And
now he's like really involved with you guys, isn't he?
Well, not as involved. He's doing his thing.
Yeah.
He's great. He's given to us, and he's everywhere he goes, he tells about us. He's a good man, rough on the edges.
Yeah.
He didn't graduate our program, but I love the man. But his family, when he was in prison, we gave to his family, and that's why he's got a big heart for family. That man's got a big heart. So anyway, through the family ministry is huge too, because the kids, sometimes we ask, okay, when they're in prison, do you want us to give the gift under your name or Santa? They all say their name. Then we go to the mom. What do you want?
Santa.
It depends.
Yeah.
We usually do what mom wants, and we tell him that. And then we tell him, okay, mom, choose this, but give us a year, next year it'll be from you. And it usually does. It's just that trust.
How does the family ministry work?
It's a challenge. It's like, okay, so we give backpacks
What
for
does that
school.
happen at the campus?
So,
Or
so like, yes, when a man comes into our campus, then we adopt their family, and then we reach out to the mamas, and the mamas, he could have a couple mamas.
right, a couple mamas, right?
So we reach out to the mamas, and not necessarily he's the husband, and we say, hey, he's in our program. We're here for you. What do you want? We're not going to force anything on you.
Right.
And whatever level they want, we'll do. We'll give you backpacks during school. We give birthday gifts, Christmas gifts. We give mamas Mother's Day gifts, birthday gifts. And if they want counseling,
Do they
we
come to
connect
ministry onto the campus?
we connect
too?
them with churches.
Gotcha.
And we used to do that. It's too complex. But
Logistics, yeah.
now it's just where they're at. And it's a wonderful ministry. The moms are blessed, and it's a challenge. And these kids, oh my gosh.
So how many people do you think over the last 25 years, Men of Valor has saved, would you say?
Oh, I can't even give a number, but tens of thousands. I mean, just last year alone, 2,000 to 3,000 men.
Are
Not
you in
just
the
women.
women's prisons at all?
No, we're not. I have a ministry that I minister to or mentor, Living Ministries. She's great, and her husband works for us, and she's involved with Trump too. And so we work with them, but it's a different ballgame. You got to know your audience.
Yeah.
You got to know your audience, and it's women's ministries, prison ministries, different focus.
Well, I really appreciate you taking your time out to come visit with me on this podcast. I think just helping people understand what goes in to just helping improve these people who have found themselves in trouble to where they find a way to kind of improve their lives and make themselves better. And what you've done here in the state of Tennessee and what you're going to do in Texas and Florida and with ICE, I think will continue to just save those people as they come back to society, and it'll really help us all. So thanks for what you do and how you're doing it, and I really appreciate you taking the time. How do people find you on social media? Do you have a Instagram?
Yeah, I'm not
Facebook
a
page?
social media guy, but just look up Raul Lopez. I don't even know how to do it, but it's Facebook, Instagram, Men of Valor. I'm sure you can find us. But Lonnie, I just want to thank you for what you do for Nashville. Nashville is my heart. I came here over 30 years ago, and there's so much more to be done. And I just thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
And people are listening to you, and I appreciate you so much.
I tell you, my term as chairman ended in February of this year, and this is 2025. And my successor, Jason Weekly, is a little bit younger than I am, but
Aren't they all?
he and his team are doing a great job. They're off and running. I've really not seen a Nashville party as organized as he was able to start.
Good.
When I came in, it was just a hot mess. And the group that he has now seems to gel really well. And so they're going to do good things. This year is an off year. There's no elections this year, so they're able to spend some time to raise some money to help recruit some candidates for next year. And I think we're really going to see good things coming out of Davidson County over the next 2 to 4 years as Jason becomes more and more established in that role.
That's great.
So, but thank you for what you said to me. I love Nashville too, and I've run for office in this area twice, not because I think I'm going to be some great politician or anything, but because I thought it's what Nashville needed for me to do. I didn't set out to be chairman of the Republican Party here, but it's what I felt like we needed to do to improve the area. It was the same reason I worked with the Higher Education Initiative and helped lobby for them. And so the things that I'm doing are really just to improve the city of Nashville because it's such a great place. And I hate really to see what Freddie O'Connell and John Cooper and all the mayors before him have done over the last 20 years, because they're really just destroying what made Nashville so charming. And, there is progress, and I'm not saying we don't need progress, but there's a way to go about it where you're not erasing everything that was underneath it. And so it makes me think of Venice or the Roman Empire stuff, where there are just levels of the city under the city. We're on the 6th level now. And what was underneath was really so great. I hate to see what it looks like 20 years from now. But, we're working to make sure that Nashvillians understand that the Republican philosophy is really the long-term better. And, sooner or later, Nashville's going to run out of money. And they're only going to be able to tax the citizens of the area so much. So we'll see.
Yeah, I just got my
reassessment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It tripled.
Yeah, mine almost doubled. And I already got informed by the mortgage company that what my increase is,
but
what they're expecting it to be.
But I mean, you got crime, you got education, you got growth, and I tell you, with crime, you can't let people off without bond. You can't let them off free.
Glenn Funk. So what? I know where I was about to end it, but now, what do you think about the Glenn Funk?
It's a disaster. I mean, the guy. I don't know. The guy. Why isn't he up for a charge? Right.
Right.
I don't understand that, but either way, it's like, if you do the time, you got to do the crime, right? And you got what Megan. I don't even think Megan Barry even set foot in the jail, did she?
Oh, I don't know.
She got out with nothing.
Oh, from her tryst in the
yeah. So this non-bond, there's got to be consequences. Again, I'm a prison minister,
right?
But there's got to be consequences.
I mean, I guess that's in the news too. We have we have ICE arresting people in Nashville who are here illegally, and I just don't understand why the Nashville news media is bending over backwards to say this is some kind of bad thing, getting people who
because they got
off the
organization,
streets.
and this maybe we should do this for another day.
Okay.
For Latinos for Tennessee.
All right, we'll do that.
Because we got Conexión. I've got all kinds of Hispanic organizations that pull the mayor's
you just
string.
pick a time, and we'll
we'll
do another
and
episode.
bring Tommy Vallejos with us.
Tommy.
Exciting.
I saw him last weekend, a couple of weeks ago at an event.
So, but that's different as Men of Valor. But yeah, it's a different world. That's the Latino connection that pulls their strings.
Well, Raul, thanks again so much for being here.
You too, brother, and thanks for all you do.
Well, thanks. If you want to find me on the socials, I'm on at Lonnie Spivak everywhere. The website is you'resoright.us, and you can find the podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and everywhere you find podcasts. See you next time.
In the heart of Tennessee, where the mountains meet the sky, through the rolling hills and the rivers that run by, stand strong, our roots deep and true, in the land of cotton where the sun sets through. The wind whispers tales of old in every town and field, echoes of history in every stream and yield. You're so right in this land we hold dear, Tennessee truths shining bright, clear, from the Smoky Mountains to the Gulf's embrace, our spirits rise, no matter what the fate. In the heart of Nashville, where dreams take flight, With every note, the city lights ignite. From honky-tonks to farms, our stories blend in the heart of Tennessee, where we belong. The winter whispers tales of old in every town and field. Echoes of history in every stream and guild. You're so right, in this land we hold dear. Tennessee of truth, shining bright. From the Smoky Mountains to the Gulf's embrace, our spirits rise, no matter what the fate. Through storms and shine, we stand tall and proud. In the heart